He didn't say a word the whole ride. But when I looked in the rearview mirror, he wasn't there anymore. I've been driving for Uber for about 2 years now. It's decent money, especially during late-night hours, which are usually when the strangest rides happen. But nothing comes close to what happened on a rainy Thursday night back in October. It was around 1:20 a.m. I had just dropped someone off on the edge of town, near an old industrial park, and was getting ready to call it a night. The rain had been falling steady for hours, cold, light sheets that made everything look slick and distorted under the streetlights. I was parked under a flickering lamp near a 24-hour diner when I got a ping for a pickup just a few blocks away. The name said Kyle. Pickup location was a warehouse lot I recognized. Not somewhere people usually ordered rides from at that hour, but I figured maybe a night shift worker or someone who'd had a rough night. When I pulled up, a man was already standing outside the chain-link gate, just barely visible in the misty rain. He was tall, wearing a dark hoodie with the hood up, hands in his pockets. I rolled down the passenger window slightly. "You Kyle?" I asked. He didn't answer, just nodded once and opened the back door, getting in without a word. Now people get in with headphones or drunk silence all the time, so I didn't think much of it. I confirmed the destination, an apartment complex about 20 minutes away, and started driving. The car was quiet, except for the sound of the tires on the wet road and the low hum of the heater. The guy didn't speak, didn't make a sound, not even a sniffle. I glanced into the rear-view mirror a few times. He was sitting directly behind the passenger seat, head slightly turned toward the window. I tried small talk. "Cold night, huh?" Nothing. I let it go and focused on the road. About 10 minutes in, something started to feel off. I couldn't explain it. Just this slow creep of unease spreading through my chest. It wasn't anything he was doing. It was what he wasn't doing. No phone light, no shifting in his seat, no fog on the window where he breathed. Just total stillness. That's when I checked my phone, and I froze. There was no ride in progress, no active trip, no history of a ride from Kyle or anyone else in the last half hour. The map was back to my usual driver dashboard, with no destination set. At first I thought maybe it glitched. The app does that sometimes. I glanced into the mirror again. But this time, the back seat was empty. I swerved a little in panic, heart slamming in my chest. I turned my head fully and looked over my shoulder. Empty. The back door was shut, the seatbelt still hanging neatly from the hook. There were no wet footprints, no sound of a door opening. I hadn't stopped once since picking him up. I pulled over immediately, right under a streetlight, breathing hard. My hands were shaking as I checked the back seat again. I even opened the door and looked around outside. Nothing. No one. Not a soul on the street. I stood there in the rain, completely stunned, trying to make sense of it. My first thought was that maybe I hallucinated the whole thing. Maybe I was more tired than I thought. But I remembered seeing him. The nod, the sound of the door closing, the cold rush of air as he got in. I got back into the car, locked the doors, and started driving back toward the diner, figuring I'd just end the night early. Then my phone buzzed. A new ride request. Same app, same sound. I glanced down. Pickup, industrial park lot. Passenger, Kyle. My blood ran cold. It was the exact same location, same name, same pin on the map. I didn't accept the request. I sat there staring at it, waiting for it to disappear. But it didn't. It stayed on the screen for a full minute before timing out. A minute later, it popped back up again. Same name, same place. I turned my phone off. I didn't drive for a week after that. When I finally worked up the nerve to contact Uber support, they said they had no record of any ride that night under the name Kyle. Nothing from that location. Nothing that matched my GPS history. Just a blank gap between 1:20 and 1:45 a.m. I asked if it was a glitch, or maybe someone hacked my app somehow, but they just kept repeating there was no activity on my account during that time. I've never gotten a request from Kyle since, but I've heard other local drivers mention strange pickups in that area. Silent passengers, wrong names, glitches in the app. I don't know what happened that night, whether it was some elaborate prank or something else entirely. But I still remember the weight in the back seat, the sound of the door closing, and the awful crawling feeling that something was watching me the entire ride. I never requested an Uber that night, But when I got in the car, the driver was already staring at a screen that showed my name. I was leaving my university library late on a Friday night. Midterms had drained most of the campus population by then, so the walkways were quiet, the buildings dim. The cold autumn air bit through my hoodie as I waited near the turnaround loop in front of the main hall, refreshing the Uber app with stiff fingers. The last thing I remember thinking before I ordered a ride was how dead the area felt. No footsteps, no cars passing, just wind, leaves, and the distant hum of vending machines inside the building. Right as I tapped confirm ride, a black Camry pulled into the loop. Perfect timing. The license plate matched. I stepped toward it as the back door unlocked with a click. The driver looked up at me through the rearview mirror and gave a polite nod. Nothing out of the ordinary. Middle-aged guy, clean car, dashboard lights glowing softly. I climbed in. "Hey, thanks for coming out this late," I said, settling in and pulling the door shut. He didn't answer. I assumed he was one of those quiet drivers and turned my attention to my phone. I was about to open a playlist when something caught my eye on his screen. It was his Uber driver app, propped up in a cradle on the dash, and it was showing my name. Not the usual passenger you label. It actually read my full name, first and last. But that wasn't what froze me. The screen also showed the pickup time. It said the ride had been accepted 10 minutes ago. I hadn't ordered it until just now. I leaned forward slightly. "Hey, did this ride show up for you a while ago?" The driver didn't look at me. He kept his hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, expression neutral. "You requested me earlier," he said flatly. I sat back, confused. I didn't. I literally just ordered it. That's when I noticed a second phone lying face down next to his gear shift. Not plugged in, not in a mount, just sitting there, like he didn't want it to be seen. We drove in silence for a moment, tension rising in the cabin like a slow leak. The hairs on the back of my neck were standing up. My skin felt tight. I opened the Uber app on my own phone. No active trip, no route, no driver listed, just the home screen. Like I had never ordered anything. I pretended to read something on my screen, trying to keep my breathing steady. I was less than a mile from my dorm. I figured if I asked to stop now, it might trigger something. So instead, I quietly slid my finger over to the emergency contact shortcut I'd programmed earlier that semester, just in case. "Where did it say you were picking me up from?" I asked suddenly, trying to keep my voice casual. The driver finally glanced at me in the mirror. He smiled. "From where you were standing." My stomach dropped. That couldn't be true. The app wouldn't have known where I was until I opened it. I hadn't set a location manually. And yet, "I've driven you before," he added, voice too calm. "A few times, actually. You don't remember?" I stared at the back of his head. "I don't think so." He chuckled. "You always look tired when you get in. Studying too hard, maybe." Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. I didn't know this man, but he spoke like he'd been watching me longer than the ride. We passed my dorm entrance. "Hey," I said sharply. "You missed the turn." He didn't respond. "Can you take the next right?" Silence. The car kept going. I reached for the door handle, but the lock clicked. Child lock. The road we were on curved away from campus and toward a wooded section of town. I recognized it. Quiet residential blocks and poorly lit intersections. He was driving slower now, almost cruising. I weighed my options. I could break the window, scream, grab the wheel, but I also didn't want to panic unless I knew he was taking me somewhere else. That's when his second phone lit up, face down, but the screen reflection flickered just enough for me to catch something. It was a photo of me. Not from tonight, a different night. Same hoodie, same backpack, but it was me. I didn't think. I slammed my foot into the back of his seat, screamed at the top of my lungs and started kicking. The car swerved. He shouted something, but I didn't stop. I clawed at the window and started pounding on the glass. That's when the car stopped. Not at a stop sign, not at a red light, just stopped in the middle of a dark, empty street. He didn't say anything. I unlocked the door manually, Thank God the lock still worked from the driver's side, and I bolted. Ran full speed through someone's front yard, over a low fence. I didn't stop until I hit the lights of a gas station. I called a friend to come get me. Didn't sleep that night. When I reported the ride to Uber, they had no record of it. No trip history, no matching driver, no vehicle ID in my logs. My app still showed looking for rides. I gave them the plate number. They said it didn't belong to any registered Uber in my city. I have no idea who that man was, or how he knew my name, or how he had that photo. All I know is this: I never ordered that ride. And I never will again without checking twice who's behind the wheel.
I canceled the Uber before it even arrived. So why did the same car pull up behind me halfway through my walk home and never leave? It happened just last fall, and I still check over my shoulder every time I walk home after dark. I live in a small college town, and I was heading home after grabbing takeout with some friends. It wasn't until super late, maybe just after 11, but the streets were empty and the air had that early autumn bite. I didn't live far, just about 8 blocks through a quiet residential area. After saying goodnight, I pulled out my phone and opened the Uber app. I figured I'd take a car home instead of walking. It was getting cold, and my phone battery was already low. I ordered the ride, got a confirmation, and saw that the driver was still 5 minutes away. But then I saw the fare price. It had surged, like, ridiculously. I hesitated, then just canceled it. No big deal. I figured I'd just walk the few blocks home. I'd done it 100 times before. The first 3 blocks were completely normal. Streetlights buzzed overhead, a few porch lights were on, and I could still hear cars from the main road behind me. I was scrolling through my messages when I noticed headlights behind me, slow, steady, creeping at a walking pace. I moved to the sidewalk's edge and glanced back. A black Toyota sedan, clean, quiet, just cruising behind me. I kept walking, figuring they were looking for a house or slowing for GPS directions. But a block later, they were still there. Never passed me, never turned. At the next corner, I tested it. I stopped completely, pretending to check my phone. The car stopped too. Didn't even try to hide it, just idled about 20 feet back, headlights still on, engine humming softly in the night. Now I was on alert. I turned and looked directly at it, hoping that would make whoever was inside realize how weird they were being. I couldn't see the driver through the glare of the lights. Just a silhouette. Still. So I picked up my pace. When I turned the next corner, I walked faster, half jogging, heart racing now. I pulled out my phone to call someone, but of course, it was dead. I'd ignored the 2% battery warning earlier. I cursed under my breath. Behind me, the car turned the corner too, still following, still slow, still silent. I was about 4 blocks from home now. I started cutting across yards, breaking my usual route, hoping maybe the car would keep going. I ducked between 2 parked cars and crossed diagonally through someone's lawn. I kept glancing back between hedges and fences, trying to see if I'd lost it, but I hadn't. It reappeared at the next corner, creeping forward, always just out of reach, never speeding, just watching. I couldn't take it anymore. I stopped in the shadows of someone's hedge and crouched low, out of sight. I waited there, shivering, heart pounding. The car rolled slowly into view, and then stopped directly across the street. It didn't move. I waited. 30 seconds. A minute. 2. I was crouched, barely breathing, when the driver's side door cracked open. A leg stepped out, then a figure, tall, thin, wearing all black, no hat. No phone in their hand, no movement toward a house, just standing beside the car, looking, not saying a word. They didn't yell at me, didn't call out, just stood there like they knew exactly where I was. I didn't wait. I bolted through the side yard, down an alley, jumped a short fence, and sprinted until I saw the lights of my apartment building. I didn't even look back until I slammed my front door shut. I didn't sleep that night. I kept peeking through my blinds, expecting to see that car parked outside. The next morning, I checked the Uber app again, just to prove to myself that I had canceled the ride. But there was a completed trip in my history. It showed my exact walking route, every turn I made, every block I cut through. Even though I never got in the car, even though I canceled it, the receipt showed the name of the driver. I tapped it. Profile unavailable. No rating, no car listed, just a blank photo and the name, Robert. Uber support said the trip data was incomplete, that the GPS may have glitched. They offered me a credit. I deleted the app that day. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm walking home, I still feel like someone's rolling just a little too slowly behind me, and once or twice, I could swear I saw the same black car waiting at the end of the block, engine running, just watching.